welcome in. Happy Monday to you. Hope you've been doing well. Hope you had a good holiday season as we're wrapping it up here. Got the new year rolling around, so a little bit something to look forward to before we settle into a long, cold spring. But thanks for being here with me. Happy Monday. Folks, as you know, Monday is AMA Day. Ask me anything. Any questions you've got about publishing, writing, books, all that fun stuff. I'm here to talk about it with you. If you don't know me, I'm author Alex Knight. I've been writing fantasy and sci-fi full-time since 2018. And 3 days a week in the mornings, we stream. We have some fun with it. So I hope you're doing well. I appreciate you being here with me. If you got questions, fire away. If you just want to chat, that's cool too. We're here for the next hour or so. We're going to hang out and have a good time. Feel free to join. Fat Frog, what's up, my guy? Good to see ya. It was a pretty good Christmas. I cannot complain. I hope it was the same for you. Hope you had a good holiday season. Like I said, we got a little bit left to look forward to with New Year's coming up. This is a little more fun. We're not done yet. But honestly, man, I kind of like the January to March time of the year. I feel like there's not a lot of holidays. There's not a lot of distractions. It's a good time to just kind of settle in and get the work done, you know? Kind of, I feel like everybody kind of leaves me alone for that part of the year. Everybody's settled into their hibernation. I don't know if you feel that too, but that's been my experience. But good to see you, my guy. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, okay, you feel it too. You feel it too. Crybaby, you said hi, Dad. Fair enough. How's it going, man? Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a good holiday season. Yo, the coffee is hot. It's getting cold outside again. And we're here to answer questions. So if you want to talk about books, writing, publishing, all that fun stuff, you got questions about it. Could be writing technique. Could be questions about the publishing industry. Which there are a lot of things to have questions about the publishing industry. A lot of good reasons. It's a very strange industry. Any of that stuff, please ask away. I'm here to answer. I'm here to help. And I'm happy to talk about it. Oh, I have the wrong title on my stream. We'll change that real quick. Cool that I can do that once I'm live. That's a new feature, I feel like. There we go. G Jim, welcome in, my friend. You said, do I get to choose who my editor is? That depends. If I am working, it depends on, I'm a hybrid author, so sometimes I work directly with publishers. Sometimes I self-publish and then sell the rights of the book to the publisher. So depending on what process I've gone through, I get to pick my editor or not. That being said, even when I work with a publisher and they have an editor in mind, in my experience, they've always asked, this person, we like this person, we've used them a lot, are you okay working with them? When I do self-pub and then sell the rights afterward, I explicitly choose my editor and pay them. If it's working with a publisher, they pay the editor for me. So that helps a lot. Blocksha over on Video App, my friend, welcome in. It's a pleasure to have you. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you're doing well. Gabriel, you said, do you fall more on the side of smaller word counts daily or larger every other day? Ooh, interesting. I prefer the consistency approach, so I like to do 2,000 words every day. That's my goal on days that I'm writing. That's a sustainable amount for me to hit 5 days a week and be able to continue writing nonstop. What about you? You have a preference there? HB, you said, I just finished writing the first chapter of my first ever fantasy book with no experience. Hey, rock on, my dude. Good stuff. How was it? Did you enjoy the experience? You said, do I have any tips? My tips are, have fun with it. You're the first person who has to enjoy the story. So make sure you're writing and just having fun, like doing cool stuff that you enjoy. As long as you're having fun, you're doing the right thing. And the readers can tell. The readers can tell when you had fun writing. I don't know how, man, but they alchemy it. They can tell through the page. It's pretty crazy. Lestero, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome in. Hope you had a good holiday season. Tempe, you're up at an ungodly hour. Yeah, I feel you. So am I. How you doing? Serenity, you said, how do I stay motivated? You missed 3 days because of Christmas and family, and now you're being lazy. Hey, it's okay if you missed a little bit, missed a couple days for Christmas and hanging out with family. That's important too. In fact, writing is a marathon, not a sprint. So it's perfectly reasonable and even healthy to have those days off. So don't think of it as you missed those days. Think of it as you were just resting. Athletes rest, right? They don't play a game every day. They don't train every day. So you need a little bit of time off. Tired of the bees, said my wife wants to get into creative writing. What advice would you give? Ooh, if you want to get into it for the first time, start with short stories, or even shorter. A lot of people think to jump into like fantasy novels right off, or novels, novel-length stories right off the bat. I think that's detrimental. It takes a long time to write a whole book. It's a big commitment. It's like going from not running to running a marathon. There should be an in-between step, right? Start with short stories. Try that first, and then always remember, write what's fun for you. You gotta have fun with it. G. Jim, do I self-insert into my books? I have not done that yet. I don't know why. I want to try it. I haven't done it yet, but I feel like it'd be a fun experience to do that. Sorry guys, I got a hair on my mouth, my tongue here. I can feel it as I'm talking. How annoying. I guess I could turn the camera off for that, but oh well, you can deal with it. Jeremy Taylor, YNYT, over on Video App. Hello, welcome in. Appreciate you joining me. Hope you're doing well today. Gabriel, you said I have to follow. I'm cool. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Welcome in. It's a pleasure to have you. And edits by Angie and Sung Moon. Thank you for the gifts. Sung Moon, re-up in that stream team. I appreciate you. Good to see you as well. Hope you had a good Christmas. Good holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Edits by Angie. Thank you for the lightning bolts. That's pretty sick. Autumn 2024. That's an interesting name for the award. But thank you. I appreciate that. Rafi, good to see you, my buddy. Welcome, welcome. How you doing, man? Do you have a good holiday season? Jonathan says, how much wood would woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I haven't heard that one in a while. I feel like I'm back in school, man. Jenna, what's your biggest pet peeve when reading others? I'm not sure if I have too many pet peeves when reading others, because once you write for a living, you get very picky about the things that you like to see in books. And I had to go on a bit of a journey of like accepting that what the other author's doing isn't necessarily what I would do, and that's awesome. It's cool to see a new approach to it. So I don't think I really have pet peeves. I guess if I was going to say one, it's taking too long to get to the point. I think some books, folks can feel like they need to hit a certain word count, and so they can make things take longer than it should. I like prose that's to the point. A little bit of flourishes here and there, but just mainly to the point. Bun over on Video App. Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining. Pleasure to have you. Lestro, you said, what are you writing on? PC, writing machine, or you're curious to hear? I write on MacBook mainly and PC. Those are my two go-tos. I also work on my typewriter once in a while when I need to like disconnect, put the phone in another room, and just sit down and like disconnect. That's really nice. But primarily I write on my MacBook. That's my chosen writing device. It's 10 years old and going strong. I love it. But I've heard good things about various writing machines, so I'd be interested to try like the FreeWrite or whatever. Sean, good to see you, buddy. Welcome in. How you been? Tam, good to see you as well. Shaq, you said, what do I think about Kafka? Not too much. I haven't read that much. I'm not that big on the classics. Ali May, over on Video App, you said, what do I write? Well, thank you for asking. Here's my books, at least my book ones. I write fantasy and science fiction primarily. A little bit of lit RPG, as you'll see down here. And all these are linked in my bio, so if you want to check them out, please feel free. That's how I support myself. 39533 over on Video App said, is it true getting on the New York Times bestseller list is easy? No, I don't think so. It's getting easier. Recently, they have been more favorable to self-published or small press titles being accepted on there. Because, for instance, this is my first published book, if my finger stays here. The purple one that I can't point to. There we go, Alex. Warden, down here. That's my first published book. And it sold enough in its first month to make the New York Times bestseller list. But it was from a small press. And in 2018, the New York Times bestseller list did not count small press sales towards the list. So I didn't get on the list, which was a shame. But I know I achieved it, so... Travis, how much... Oh, you asked that already? Sung Moon, good to see you. I think you... Where was it? You posted something about your holidays. You said you had a great Christmas, except for the fact that you've been down with the flu for 2 weeks. No, I don't want to hear that, man. Sorry about that. But hey, there's no better time to cozy up inside than the cold time of year, right? Get a nice hot drink, warm blanket, chill. I hope you feel better soon, my man. Raffi, it was a good holiday. I'm glad yours was awesome. And yeah, I had a good time as well. Ready to be back to it. I'm excited. Vox's wife on TikTok, you said, where's your favorite place to write? Like physically? I don't know. I really miss... I used to write at the London Library when I lived in London, and then the Boston Athenaeum when I lived in Boston. Both of those are membership libraries, which are just kind of like hoity-toity old libraries that you pay a membership to be a member of, but then basically it's like office space you get to use. I miss those. I don't have one of those in Houston. But those were really cool. It felt nice to, like, as someone who works from home all the time, it's lovely, but it also was nice to be able to, like, go in and have pseudo coworkers and write around, like, old books and stuff. It was cool. So probably that. Allie Mae on Video App, you've read The Far Wild. Hey, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for checking it out. What'd you think? Did you like it? 39533 also on Video App. You said, how do I stay motivated? It's consistency. Motivation is 1 part passion and 2 parts consistency. Once you build a routine and you do it long enough, it starts to feel wrong when you don't do the routine, right? So on days that I don't write, it feels like I literally have a worse day if I don't write in my day. I'll be into the work day and I'm like, why am I grumpy? And it's like, oh, I didn't write today. SJM, you said, is 36 too late to start writing, and how do I start? No, not too late, not at all. How do you start? Just sit down and write a scene. Envision a world that excites you and write just something to entertain yourself from it. Just start with short stories that you enjoy. Could even be a scene. Also, read a lot of books. That almost via like absorption teaches you how to write. And once you read enough books, you start to natively understand storytelling. It's a really cool little hack. I saw there was a question here. Oh, Sanjay, here it was. Got any favorite standalone books? Yeah, for sure. I really like. I'm gonna put this in chat because it's a weird one. It's called Mel's All Fright Diner by A. Lee Martinez. I'll put that in both chats. I really like that as a comedy standalone. It's a fun little book. And it's not truly a standalone, but I'm going to shout out Jurassic Park as well. I love Jurassic Park. Where was it? Okay, you said, did I stop making the maps? No, not at all. We make the maps on Fridays. So if you want to come back on Friday, y'all, we make fantasy maps like these live on stream. It's a lot of fun. Y'all, if I missed your question, please ask it again. I want to get to them all. They're just flying by pretty quick. 39533 on Video App. I do not use ChatGPT for ideas. I avoid any use of AI in my workflow. Allie Mae, you said, just to say, I wrote poetry, and you really put your feelings into those words. Yeah, it's true, man. Poetry's tough. Poetry's raw and honest and beautiful. I'm impressed by it. Rock on. You got a poet over there, Allie. I'm glad to hear it. TB, you said you wrote Lit RPG for your class and your professor didn't understand the genre and gave me a 72. Oh, man, I'm sorry. It is an emerging genre, right? It's new. A lot of folks haven't heard of it. But hey, it's growing. It's growing quick. Thank Dungeon Crawler Carl for that, man. It is bust out of containment into the wider publishing world. Shaq, I did used to live in Boston for a couple years. My wife and I lived up there. It was really nice. I do miss it. Oh, Coops, you said, oh my lord, I thought you were Asmongold for a second when I scrolled. Folks, if you hang out on stream, you know what that means. We're updating the Asmongold counter. Add another tick. 74. Woo! It climbs. One day we're going to hit 100. It'll be a good day. Based at this rate, we'll hit it in about month and a half, I think. Shadow Vault on Video App, you said, fake author? Why am I a fake author, my guy? Skylifts, have I ever read the Ichabog? The name's familiar. Hold on, let me look it up. No, I don't think I've read it. In fact, no, I'm certain it's by Rowling. I definitely haven't read it. Do you like it? Lestro, you said, what app do I write on? I write in Google Docs and Google Drive just because I love that it syncs across my phone, laptop, desktop. And it's really nice, like everywhere I go, I have my full professional workload on my phone. I can just open it up and it's right there. I love that. 39533, do you ever have the fear that your concept could have been done by someone else? No, not really. In fact, it's all about execution is what it comes down to. Ideas, this is a bit of a rough way to say it, but ideas are cheap, execution is hard. Everybody has had similar ideas at some point in time. What makes ideas stand out is how you execute on the storytelling in the experience. So that's really what makes it different, you know? Have I ever read anything by Lawrence Watt Evans? Let me look it up. The name kind of rings a bell. No, I don't think so. I don't believe I have. $3.953 on Video App. They're just trolling, my guy. I can say that explicitly because I was a ghostwriter for a large part of my career. It's actually how I started. My first few years in the industry, I ghostwrote romance and sci-fi for various publishers. TV, you said, why is 11/22/63 the greatest book Stephen King's ever written? I haven't read it. My wife started reading it, but man, that is a doorstop of a novel. Why do you like it, TV? What stands out to it about you? Skies said, what do I think about detective novels? I love them. It's a classic archetype, classic trope, I suppose. I think they're really fun. I don't know what it is. There's something enduring about the, detective that doesn't have their life together but's really dedicated to their work. I don't know why, but that's just like a trope that feels timeless, and I'm here for it. Fully an unhealthy character. They clearly work too much and have unresolved personal trauma, but it's a popular character type, and I don't know, man. It works for me. I can't really explain it. Where is it? Tara now said, is it hard to make a book? It's decently hard. I think the individual day-to-day work is not hard, right? You just write your chapter each day. What's hard is a book generally has around 40 plus chapters. So you write your chapter every day, and then again, and then again, and then again, and that consistency, I'd say, is what's the hardest part. That would be the main challenge. Pow Ear, I think you said, is that the Dark Tower behind you? It's not. I get that a lot though. It's actually, here, I'll pull it up for you. I'll just turn my camera off for a moment. It's actually the back cover of one of my books. It's this one right here. I'll pull it up. It is the back cover of Wriggly Little Hands. Art by Ivan Shavrin, my cover artist for that. That's my most recent book. If you want to read a silly fantasy about goblins on a road trip to serve the Dark Lord, and all the ways they messed that up, give it a check. It's pretty fun. Linked in my bio. At 39533 on Video App, you said, if you ghost wrote, how much in commission did you get? It varied contract to contract, but when I was ghostwriting, the industry standard rate was 0.06 cents per word. And I eventually increased that to around 2 cents per word by the time I finished. I believe the rates have gone up since then. But you can, if you're doing ghostwriting, you can be paid per word, or you can be paid in a royalty share agreement. It depends on what the publisher wants, and it depends who you're writing for. I was ghostwriting for publishers who weren't like using celebrity authors, right? So sometimes most times when a celebrity writes a book, they had someone ghostwrite it for them. That might be a bigger budget project than what I was doing, where publishers were just looking for, they had identified, hey, a romance novel with these tropes will do well right now. We need someone to write that. And they would hire me to write that. So I would just get paid per word. Michael. Ooh, good question, Michael. On TikTok, you said, when writing books, do you ever get imposter syndrome? I don't think I do anymore. I definitely did for when I started. And I've written and published 11 books now. So like we've done this for a little while. But so I think it once it falls into routine, you stop having imposter syndrome. But I definitely had it for a long time, and that doubt's always going to be there. You know, you just got to push it out of your mind and keep going. Kind of a fake it till you make it scenario. Unfortunately, that does work. Maybe fortunately, I don't know. Alicia, good to see ya. Good morning. How you doing? Hope you had a good holiday season. Got some good New Year's Eve plans coming up, I hope. Another comment for the Dark Tower in the background. Yeah, I get that a lot, that it looks like a Dark Tower, but that's the wrong image. I wanted to do this one. It's the back cover copy of one of my books. Specifically, this one. Salty Sarge, you said, do authors buy all their books to get an award? No, that's relatively unheard of. I know there was a famous scandal with it a couple years back. It's not worth it. Two, if any of if Amazon, I'm not supposed to say that word, if that website were to find out, or the New York Times bestseller list, etc., like, you would be banned for, if not life, a very long time. It's really not worth it. Plus, you'd have to buy an absurd amount of books. I'm not aware of anybody doing that. EF in Goat 67 on Video App. I said another Asmongold reference. Uh-oh, folks. We're doing good today. We're farming those references. The counter's going to go up again. 75. Here we go. Good day, guys. We're cooking. EF, welcome in, though. Good to have you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Allie Mae, do I ever get writer's block? Yeah, sometimes. It happens. I'm pretty good at getting through it these days. I've got a lot of techniques for it. But it's not too much of a problem. I've got several different like 3 different strategies to mitigate it. And the first one normally works. And if it doesn't, I have 2 backup. So I've gotten pretty good at getting around it. Most of the time, writer's block is really burnout, and you just need to rest. Hemlocks, you also made an Asmongold reference. You don't got to apologize, man. It's fine. It gets called out all the time. I'm not worried about it. 76 on the counter, though. It's going up. It's our moment. C. Hoff Power. I don't know how to say that. But you said you just found it on Audible. You're going to give it a listen. Usually you go for grimdark, but this seems nice. Well, thank you, my guy. I think you're talking about Wriggly Little Hands right here. Well, I hope you enjoy it. If you normally like dark stuff, this one's more dark and intense. And I have already signed the contract to write books 2 and 3, so I'll be writing those very soon. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. If you want your typical grimdark fare, this one is definitely in that genre. Martin, you said, what's the core of developing a story? I'm not sure, Martin. That's a good question. The core of developing a story. I think there's several cores you could have. You could have characters. It kind of comes down to what you're best at. You could be really good at characters, and thus characters are the core of your story. Maybe you're really good at plot and plot twists, then plot's the core of your story. I think realistically, the better you can be at all of these, the better you'll be as an author. But everybody, I think, naturally starts out with an affinity for one of these things, be it character, dialogue, plot, world building, etc. And just the more of those that you can get good at, the better you'll be. 39533, you said, what if one rich person buys a ton of your books? Does it make a bestseller list? I don't know the specifics on how that would work. I don't believe, and I could be wrong, so don't take me at this for a fact. I don't believe the bestseller list, the New York Times bestseller list, goes off of individual sales. I believe it goes largely off of bookstores buying your book and stocking it. So if you were trying to fudge it, I wouldn't even know how, but I guess the best way would be to know a lot of bookstores and have them purchase copies to put on their shelves. I don't think one person could influence it, even if they were rich. Allie Mae, you've read Servant of Rage? Hey, rock on! I hope you enjoyed that. What did you think about it? Thank you for giving it a try. Tam, you said rest is super important. It is. It's so important. Especially in mental work like writing. If you're mentally exhausted, it's gonna make everything so much tougher. You gotta take care of yourself. You can work hard, that's fine. But you gotta rest hard to make up for it. It's a 1-to-1 exchange. Pack-a-pow, you said Asmongold. Is that you? Y'all, what a good day for the Asmongold counter. Up, up, up it goes. 77 now. Welcome in, Paka. How you doing? Good to have you. Hamburger 9110 said, what type of characters are you tired of seeing? Tired of seeing. Okay, very specifically in the grimdark genre. It's a darker genre of fantasy, a bit more pessimistic, nihilistic perhaps. I'm a little bit tired of seeing characters that are overly edgy and like dark for no reason. I want characters in this niche to have a reason for how they are, and that all comes up to character development. Yeah, I think that'd be my answer there. It really depends though, because some genres, some tropes get popular, and you see too much of them, and then another one gets popular. Like Dragon Rider romanticies have been huge lately, or romantasy in general. I think they've kind of had their moment, and now we're pivoting to something next, and who knows what that'll be. Lines and Lore editorial. Welcome, man. Good to see you. I hope you had a good holiday season, and got some good plans for New Year's Eve, I hope. Let me know. Raffi, you said, is there a co-writing relationship where one writes and the other tells the story? Not really. Not that I'm aware of. I think this kind of comes back to the idea that ideas are cheap, execution is hard. A lot of people, you especially get it when you're like an author on the internet. You get a lot of people like, hey, I have this cool idea, you can have it and develop it. And I appreciate that. It's genuine, it's nice. But it's really easy to brainstorm ideas. It's really hard to execute them. And the execution is really what makes it work. It's like being a craftsperson, right? You can think up a really cool piece of furniture if you're a carpenter, but actually having the skill to make that furniture is where the challenge comes in, you know? Greg Weinstock, you're planning to write your first book. Any tips? Don't start with a book right off the bat. Try to do a short story first, or a couple short stories. They're wonderful practice for novels. They have beginnings, middles, ends. They have characters, conflict, resolution. These are all the most important elements of a novel, but you can practice them in the span of 2 to 10,000 words instead of, 80 to 100,000 words. Woke, you said I remind you of the lead singer of Beast in Black? I have several Beast in Black songs I like. Okay, I can kind of see it. I mean, that guy looks intense, though. That dude looks mean. I like it. I am a metal fan. Love a good metal reference. 39533 on Video App, you said, I was reading a book called The Plot. It said that the idea is everything, and once you have it, the rest of the plot falls into place, even if the execution isn't perfect. Is this true? I would say that execution is more important than idea. But people have different processes, right? There are different types of writers. It's really the secret is everything when it comes to writing advice, all of it is meaningless except what works for you. All we can do as authors is tell you what works for our process. It might not be what works for you, but that's why it's good to just explore. And that's why I think the most important thing in writing is to write to entertain yourself first. As long as you're having fun, I think the rest will fall into place. Matthew said, how do you get a book published? Well, it depends. What publishing route you want to go. There is traditional publishing, like where you would see it on a Barnes & Noble shelf. There's self-publishing, where you would publish it yourself to the website that TikTok doesn't like me mentioning, but where you would buy books and many other things with Prime shipping. There's small press publishing, where you work with a smaller publisher. And there's web novel publishing, where you write your book chapter by chapter on a website like Royal Road or Archive of Our Own, Wattpad, etc. So it depends on which of these ways you want to go. But for traditional publishing, which I think is what most people think of for publishing, you would write your book. You would then send query letters to literary agents, and if they are interested in your query, they'll represent your book. They'll work with you to edit it and prove it, and then you would both pitch it to a publisher and try to sell it to them. That's kind of what most people think of when they're asking about publishing. Elos Tara said, how do I stop myself from feeling so deeply ashamed and embarrassed about what I write? That's tough. You're putting yourself out there, right? You're creating something and you're being vulnerable, and you're always going to feel nervous about that. I think the way you stop feeling nervous about it is just continuing to do it more and more, and then having people read it that perhaps are not just your friends and family. So like write short stories and submit them to short story contests, because then you have judges that you don't know personally reading over it, and that's going to be nerve-wracking for you, but you don't know them personally, right? So it's a bit of a half step. And then just practice, just over and over again. Polau, you said, thoughts on how George R. R. Martin wrote Elden Ring's story? I think he did a great job with it. I've heard nothing but praise about Elden Ring's lore and world building. I think Martin rocked it. I think he's incredible at world building. He's a really good author. He's just having some trouble finishing his massive story, which I get. I mean, it's really popular. There's a lot of pressure on. Success is a privilege, pressure is a privilege, but it's also when you got millions of people out there waiting for the next book, there's a lot of pressure on you. Not that I'd ever know that. I'd say at best I have low thousands of people waiting for my next book, but maybe hundreds. But it's still pressure, Ken Kaizen, my guy, welcome in. Happy Monday. Happy holidays to you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'm rocking and rolling here. Better than ever, honestly. Hope you've been good too, man. Good to see you. 39533 on Video App, you said, have you ever had fan meets or book signings? I have. Not specifically for me, like not just like people coming to a bookstore because I'm there, but I go to book fairs. I go to local book events. I have some of my books are for sale at local bookstores, so I'll go there sometimes and sign books, and that's always fun. I really enjoy it. It's really nice to meet fans, meet readers, sign books, and my God, the concern when I'm signing the book to them, I'm always like, and your name's Matthew, Matheu, okay, and I start to write it, and I'm like, Matheu, because God, I never want to get it wrong. I'd be so nervous to write someone's name wrong in the front of their book when I sign it to them. Ali, I don't know if I've heard of that singer. I might have, but I'm not sure. What type of music does he make? Ken Kaizen, you said, do I plan on going to any conventions next year? Yeah, I will be a guest. Assuming they accept my application again, but they did last year, I will be a guest at LitRPGCon in Denver in, June, I think, or July. I might make DragonCon. I'm not certain, but definitely LitRPGCon. I'll definitely be there. Rain, you asked, do I have an agent? I don't have an agent presently. I started my career out with one, but he was actually the #1 agent in North America back. I don't want to give a year because that'll be a bit too. You might be able to figure out who I'm talking about, and I don't want to be throwing mud. But he got involved in a personal life scandal that made him leave the industry, and overnight, me and all of his other clients just lost their agent, and he wouldn't respond to emails telling us who he had sent our books to, what publishers he had pitched them to, so no other agents would pick our books up. So me and like 40 other authors instantly, overnight, all of our books got trashed. We couldn't sell them traditionally. So I haven't had an agent since then. I've been doing it on my own, and I'd be interested in having an agent again, but they'd need to pitch me on what they would bring to the table, because I'm already making a full-time living as an author. Obviously, I'd like to do better. It's always the goal, but for now, we're doing all right. Can I explain nuclear fission? I most certainly cannot. Maybe at a very conceptual level, but y'all, I got 2 degrees in liberal arts, science, and I appreciate science, but I don't pretend to understand it. Joey, am I ever coming to California? I was at San Diego Comic-Con last year, and I'm not planning on being back this year. My goal is to be at San Diego Comic-Con as an author, as an invited guest. That's a milestone I'm aiming for in my career. H-Town Star, what's up? Are you in Houston, H-Town Star? Because I am too. But good to have you. You said, how should you write a good story? I want to become a screenwriter. Well, if screenwriters specifically, watch a lot of movies and then pull up the script if you can find it online for that movie and read through it while watching it to understand how the writing has been converted into what you see on screen. But really, as with anything in the writing industry, it comes down to read a lot and write a lot. That's the big thing. Just practice and be excited about it. Like, write stuff that entertains you. I really think that's the key. What books did I write? Asked D-Zony. So here are my book ones. We got fantasy up top and lit RPG down below. A lot of these have sequels. But yeah, these are a lot of my books. They're all linked in my bio if you want to check them out. And my most recent one is right here, Wriggly Little Hands. It's a comedy fantasy about a silly family of goblins who go on a quest to retrieve the Dark Lord's doomsday weapon so they can help him defeat those pesky forces of good. But they're goblins. They mess it up at every turn. They're not very good at doing important things. If that sounds up your alley, check it out. I'd appreciate it. I don't ask for stream donations or anything like that. I just say if you want to support me or the stream, check out the books. I appreciate it. Where was it? Way, you said, why did I kill Dumbledore? I liked his character. I don't know if you're saying that I am look like Voldemort with the bald head, or if you're saying I wrote that book, but either way, Dumbledore had it coming. He knew what he did. He knows what's about. Penguin Bread. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome in. I didn't stream last Friday. I streamed a Friday, what was the date? The 19th. So hope you enjoyed that if you were here for it. Ooh, Broken Keys. I love this question. If you could tell teenager you anything you know now, what would you say? Start writing sooner and just have fun with it. Back then I was so focused on like, I want to be an author. I want to do this like professionally, that I think I put too much pressure on myself. And if I had just been writing short stories as well, short stories are so important. I always say that. If I had been writing short stories first and just having fun more, I think I would have achieved full-time author status a lot sooner. So yeah, I suppose that. Swathy over on video. You said I don't look like Voldemort. Yeah, I do have a nose. That kind of disqualifies me, doesn't it? Welcome in, Swathy. How you doing, buddy? Ataz, thoughts on One Piece? I think it's awesome. I think One Piece is a ton of fun. I love when a fictional story, a fantasy story, can draw in such a wide fan base. I think that's really, really cool. It's just cool to see what things in a fantasy story unite a large base of readers. And One Piece is one of the most successful with that. It's awesome. Pabu, you said, who made the cover for that book? I assume you mean Wriggly Little Hands. This was done by Ivan Shavrin. He's my cover artist that I've worked with most recently, and I'm excited I'm working with him for the sequel. Book 2 is on the way. He also did the prequel novella to that story, which is right here. And all these are linked in my bio, so if they look fun to you, if Ivan's art catches your eye, check them out. They're anywhere that you buy books, for the most part. Big shout out to Ivan. I love working with that guy. He's a genius. Florida Road Dream, welcome in, buddy. You said you're wrapping up your book 1, and you don't know where to transition at. You're 87 chapters in, and there's a lot of loose ends. So loose ends aren't a bad thing as long as they're not like the most important loose ends in a book. If you've resolved the main plot points, then you're good to end the book. And it's fine to leave a couple of those other threads hanging as long as you intend to write a book 2. They can be a good thing, actually, in making readers go, the main plot was solved. I feel satisfied. But what about this, and this, and this? And those are the things that help them be excited about book 2. So what I would say is as long as you've resolved the main problem, the main core of your story, the big bad of book 1 has been defeated, you're good to resolve that book and move to book 2. Swathy, you said keep going. Maybe one day you'll be another J.K. Rowling. I hope so. I'll take billionaire status from my books. That'd be pretty cool. I think I would I would donate a lot of that money before ever getting near the big B. Hey, as I always say, as long as I can live full time and make a comfortable living writing books, I'm happy. And that's where we're at. I'm loving it. Just want to grow it a little bit more. Because right now I'd say I make a low office worker's salary. It's enough to live on. It's not the best, but I'm still writing and working full time as an author. So that was the dream, and I am very, very privileged to have achieved it. Noah, you said I'm 14 and want to become an author. Any advice? Yeah, Noah, so read books that you like. Every once in a while, bring in a book that you don't think you will like. Like if you like fantasy or you like thrillers, every once in a while, read a romance novel or a mystery novel. So read widely, read a lot, and then write stories that you find fun. And start with short stories. Write short stories that you think are fun and entertaining, and submit them to contests. There's tons of free short story contests out there. I think that's the best place to begin writing. Quintus on Video App, good to see you, my buddy. Welcome in. I hope you're doing well. Tide and Tara on TikTok, good to see you too. Welcome in. Hello, how you been? Hope you had a good Christmas, a happy Hanukkah if you celebrate, and a happy New Year coming soon. Welcome, good to see you. Pizza Delivery Cat, you just made some banana bread. Ooh, enjoy. You save a slice for me? Fizz, you said, what's a good way to write an alien civilization? Make it really original, I think. Make it so you want it to feel alien. You want it to, probably. I mean, I'm speaking in generalities, but I think the best thing to do when writing a civilization that's foreign to us, like an alien civilization, is make it surprising and different. And the biggest key is don't explain everything. Feel free to have them do things. It could be ways they speak, it could be physical actions they take, it could be holidays they celebrate, it could be traditions they have when meeting one another. Like, think about like a handshake, right? If you don't know what a handshake is, that's a little weird. Have them do things that don't make sense to the reader and that aren't explained. That'll make them feel a little more weird. Quintus, you said, do I like dragons? Dragons are awesome, man. I'm a big fan of dragons. Classic fantasy trope. And as I write a lot of fantasy, there's a fair few dragons flapping around in my books. Swathy, you said, I find it hard to finish even one page. I think I have a really short attention span. I've heard a lot of people having issues with that lately, short attention spans. My advice is try audiobooks if you haven't. Sometimes reading actual words on a page is not the most enjoyable way. Like some readers love to read, some love to listen to audiobooks. Both are valid. And if you like podcasts, you'll probably like audiobooks. So if you're having trouble reading, physically reading, try audiobooks. It's a great other way to try it. Where was it? 39533 said, can you tell us the blurb for each of your books? Yeah, we could do that. We could definitely do that. Thank you for that, Seth Ward. I was just going to do that. I appreciate you, my man. Okay, so blurbs for each of the books. Here, I'm going to pull up. I actually wrote like my sales pitch, my elevator pitch for each of the books. So I'll pull it up now. Here, we'll go cover by cover if you don't mind. We'll start with Wriggly Little Hands, I suppose. So, Wriggly Little Hands says, those pesky forces of good might have finally beaten the Dark Lord, unless a bumbling family of goblins can complete their quest to retrieve his doomsday weapon. So There's Wrigley, my fantasy comedy. Here's Servant of Rage. It is I call it Dragon Ball Z meets Highlander. It's very action heavy, a lot of magic and fight scenes. The pitch for Servant of Rage is: the Great Khan conquered the world with the help of insidious magic that disappeared with his death. When three brothers rediscover it, they can reclaim their people's glory, but the magic has sinister plans of its own. There's Servant of Rage. And again, all these are linked in my bio. Warden. This one is lit RPG, if you're aware of that genre. Think about like Ready Player One, where a character goes into a video game. That's a brief description of lit RPG. The pitch for that is: wrongfully imprisoned, Kaiden can earn early release by working as a digital cop in the world's most popular online game, but he uses the role to prove his innocence and accidentally uncovers a vast conspiracy in the process. And then we'll do one more. We'll do The Far Wild. I'm doing my 4 most popular. The Far Wild, I like to say it's like Jurassic Park in a fantasy world. And the pitch is: when a skyship goes missing in the primordial jungle, it's up to an egotistical adventurer and a meek academic to lead the rescue, prevent war between empires, and try not to get everyone eaten. So there you go. There's the book pitches for you, though I don't want to be too salesy. Hope those sounded interesting. Let me catch up on questions that were coming in while I was doing that. Hopeful Horror said, I am currently writing a book. What do you think about adding a Christianity to my book? Like, what do you, I don't know what you mean by that. Adding Christianity to the book. Like, have a Christian character or make it a main plot point? I know that Christian traditions, like, think about like Catholic tradition and stuff, is popular in horror. I don't know why, but like nuns can be creepy and stuff like that. So like Catholicism is a popular way to present horror. Midnight Mass, if you've ever seen the show, does that really well. If that's what you're talking about, then yeah. Penguin Bread, you said, what was your first book you ever made? Well, my first published would be Warden down here. I've written many more before that, though, that didn't get published. Just because I used to write a lot for fun, and I wasn't an author. I mean, I was an author. I wrote, but I wasn't published. I didn't have connections. I didn't know how to do the industry, so I just have books that I wrote that haven't been published yet. Moon Duh Edits says, what do you think of prologues? I like prologues if they are done correctly. A prologue needs to justify why it's there. Why is your prologue not just chapter 1? If there's a good reason for that and it's done well, a prologue is a great way to hook a reader into a book. But I think there was a trend recently of like everybody writing fantasy was like, well, it's fantasy, it's got to have a prologue. And they misunderstood why prologues exist. If your prologue can just be chapter 1, you should just call it chapter 1. In order to be a prologue, it should be different characters, a different time in the story. It should have an essential reason why it's there, basically. But if it meets that criteria, then yeah, love a good prologue. Swathy over on Video App said, my sis loves reading books, fictional books, but you're the opposite. You enjoy nonfiction. Oh no, you said you can only watch movies, not read. Hey, fair enough. Both are storytelling. I'm an author, right? I enjoy reading and writing, but what I really enjoy is storytelling. And I think that all humans enjoy that. That could be TV shows, movies, reading, audiobooks, listening to a fun story your friend's telling you from last week, and all of that is storytelling. And that's really what I'm a fan of. Thank you for the follows, by the way. I appreciate y'all. If you want to follow, I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 a.m. Central, and we're always doing something a little different. Let's see, a lot of questions here. If I miss your question, please ask it again, y'all. I'm trying to keep up, but there's a lot of them. Pixel Pearls, who said, hi, I'm a horror short story writer working on one called A Winter's Wraith. Want to hear my pitch? Sure, Pixels. Sure, we can workshop the pitch. Drop it in chat. 1.5 said, hello, I wrote some short stories that I want to make into a full book. Any advice on how to transfer? If they are roughly related, you could compile them into an anthology and publish it that way. That's a relatively common way to publish several short stories. Depending on their length, 5 to 8, maybe 10 short stories all put together into one book. We'd call that an anthology. That's totally normal. Users 6597216861492 said, how do you get published? There's 4 big publishing formats. There's self-pub, which is where you publish your own on websites like the one that has Prime shipping. I can't say the name of it. There is web novel publishing, where you publish on generally chapter by chapter on like Royal Road, Wattpad, etc. There is traditional publishing, which is what most people think of, where you submit your book to a literary agent, they like your book, they accept you, they work with you to sell that book to a publisher. And then the 4th one is small press publishing, which is a lot like traditional, but you go straight to the publisher, and it's typically a smaller publisher. It's not, Schuster, Simon and Schuster, or Penguin Random House. It's Portal Books or Athon, someone like that, smaller publishers. So you can go through all 4 of those routes, and it's a lot to answer, all 4 at once. So if one of those sounded more interesting to you, please ask, and I can break down the specifics. Tom Don, I have read The Inheritance Cycle. I'm a big fan. I'm actually due for a reread on it. I really enjoy it. Let's see. Do you think that reading like fanfics is still technically reading? Absolutely. I'm a huge fanfic fan. I think fanfics and like web novels are some of the purest forms of writing possible, because specifically for fanfics, since you can't make money off of them, you're just doing it for the love of the game, right? And I mean, big respect. That's awesome. Some of the most prolific writers out there are web novel and fanfic writers, so I have mad respect for them. Va Felix said, how do you overcome creative block? So what I do, and this works for me, it might not work for you, but it's helped a lot of viewers who've asked this question, is I set a timer for 5, maybe 10 minutes, and while that timer's running, I force myself to write in the world of my story. I don't worry if the words are good, I don't worry if I'm going to keep them, I just, for 5 to 10 minutes, hands on keyboard, type, until that timer runs out. What I find is, even if you hate every word you wrote during that time and you don't keep any of them, it tricks your brain, it like kickstarts it into creative mode. And by the time that timer is done, I feel ready to write. That's my first and most useful strategy for overcoming writer's block. So give that a try. The second is, it's often just burnout. You're often just tired, and you just need to rest and take care of yourself more. Pixel, here's your book pitch you asked for your horror novel. You said, when a grieving mother begins seeing visions of her son, she begins to uncover a grievous mystery. Well done for getting it in such a short, section, just a little comment. I think if I were going to give any feedback, just give us a little more specificity. Tell us a little bit more specifics about it. But it's on the right track. It's a very good start. Let's see. 39533, who is your inspiration as an author? I kind of have 3. I really like Terry Pratchett. He's my number 1. I really love how Pratchett did comedy and fantasy and important issues and merged them all together into a fun to read story without sounding preachy. So Sir Terry Pratchett is my number 1. Michael Crichton's my number 2. I think it was incredible how he took speculative technology, like near future technology, and turned it into scary thriller horror novels. I love that, like Jurassic Park. It was super cool. And number 3 is probably Joe Abercrombie, still writing today. I guess the only of the 3 that's alive. Oops. He does characters so well. Yeah, I've never seen someone do characters as well as him. Cool Kid, you said, how do I kill off my characters? Only when it's important. So there is a trend among newer authors to think that killing characters makes things dramatic and like meaningful, and it does. But there's an unsaid part of this, a second part of that. It makes it meaningful when readers care about that character, and when that character's death means something to the story. So don't just go like, oh, I need to make this moment dramatic, let's kill off a character. Instead, you need to say, oh, I telegraphed early on that this character really wants to achieve, glory, let's say, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that. And then later in the book, they see a way that they can find their glory, and they do something too dangerous to get it, because we've established they want that glory, right? And that's what gets them killed. That makes sense from a character arc perspective, and if we're cheering for that character and we want them to achieve that fame and glory, we feel bad that 1, they didn't achieve it, 2, they died in the process. So basically, killing off characters is about making the readers care about that character and making their death matter. User 6597216861492 said, how about traditional publishing? Or maybe self-publishing? Okay, so you had asked about publishing. I gave you what I consider the four main paths, and you said specifically, talk about traditional and self-publishing. So self-publishing, I'll start there. It's the most accessible. You just go to a website like the one named after a South American river, and you publish your book through their publishing tools. That's self-publishing in its core form. Now, the trouble with self-publishing is anybody can do it. A lot of people do it. You need to make your book stand out from everybody else's, and that means you need to learn how to do marketing or ads or get good at promotion to make your book rise above the thousands of other self-published books that come out each day. For self-publishing, though, you go to using that website where you buy stuff online and it has Prime shipping. Using that as an example, you go to Kindle, KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing is the website, and that's where you would publish your book to have it appear there. Traditional publishing, you would write your whole book, you would self-edit it as good as you can, then you would look up literary agents. These are agents who represent authors to publishers. Most big publishers, Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, etc., they will not look at books that are sent to them by authors. They want it to go through a literary agent first. These agents act as a filter to make sure that a book is of acceptable quality and, more important, that the market is ready for that type of book. So to go traditional publishing, you would submit your book to a literary agent who you think fits with your book. If they like it, they'll say, hey, let's work together. They'll edit the book with you, make it in the best form they can, and then they, using their personal knowledge of the industry, will say, I know that Penguin Random House is looking for books like this. I know an editor there. I'm going to send it to that editor. And if they like it, they will make an offer to buy the book from you. And then that's how you get it traditionally published. And if you're really lucky, multiple publishers will want it, and they'll get into a bidding war over who can buy the book. And then you get to let them fight, and you make more money. It's great. Let's see. Swathy over on Video App said, I'll give you an inspiration for the next book you make. Once about a time there was a cave in a village that was full of war and violence, and in that cave a whole kingdom of witches and wizards live. Okay, a little bit of world building there. What's the plot, Swathy? What's the story? Lesbian paint drinker. That's a name. You said, going off a Cool Kids question about killing off characters, that's integral to the story. Was this a two-part question? Did you have another question in there? I don't see it. Did I misunderstand, perhaps? Please ask it again if I misunderstood, because I'd love to answer. Sorry. Chair rolled out of the way there. Amel, or is it Emily? Emily? How do I say that? You said, do I have any specific way to expand my vocabulary? Ooh, okay, I like this question. I get this a lot. Vocabulary isn't as important in writing as people think it is. There's this misconception that authors should have a big vocabulary. It's fine to have a big vocabulary. In fact, I think I do have a large vocabulary, but when you're writing, when you're storytelling, your goal is to tell the story in a way that readers understand, and filling your story with big, obscure vocabulary words isn't a good way to do that. More specifically, you want to connect with the reader in a way that is easy and entertaining. So like knowing 5 different synonyms for a word isn't going to make your story more interesting. In fact, it's going to detract from it if you just continuously have words that people are like, what's that about? You can have a couple of those per book, but you shouldn't have a whole bunch of them. So if a big vocabulary is important, I think more important is knowing how to say things in interesting ways. Ways that your readers will connect with. There's various methods for that, but mainly I think it's about feeling confident in your prose, your just sentence-to-sentence writing, and delivering it in a way that is just easy to understand. It's the difference between watching like a Netflix drama that's just easy to watch and bingeable, and watching, Casablanca, some old classic that might take a little more focus and understanding. Thank you for the follows, by the way. I appreciate you guys following. Um, Gabby, you said, how do you get an editor? What does the cost look like? So that depends on the level of editor you hire. If they are a more experienced editor, they'll charge more. If they're a more entry level, they'll charge less. That being said, for self-publishing, I expect to pay around $1,000 for an editor right now to copy edit a book. Now, there's different types of editing. There's developmental editing, which is a much more involved process where an editor works with you at the plot level when you are planning your book. They help you put the ideas in order. That is a more rare form of editing, but often helpful for newer authors. Copy editing is the most common form, and that's really typo hunting, that's finding mistakes, that's reading sentences and making sure that they flow and they make sense. That's the main type of editing you need. And I expect to pay around $1,000 per book for copy editing. How do I get an editor is I have a Rolodex of editors that I've just worked with in the past, either through publishers or self-publishing, and I reach out to whoever I think would be best for the project and be like, hey, can I book an editing slot, a month from now or whatever. That's really how I go about it. You'll build those connections as you work more in the industry. X before YZ on Video App. Hello, my friend. Welcome in. I'm glad you like the background. Here, I can make it a bit more visible if I turn myself off for a moment. There we go. That's the back cover copy for one of my books. This one right here. I'm glad you like it. Welcome in, my man. By the way, this is my most recent book. It's a comedy fantasy about a family of goblins who go on a quest to serve the Dark Lord and mess it up at every step of the way. It's been described, one reviewer described it as a D&D campaign where nobody put any points into intelligence and the DM takes a shot after every chapter. And I was flattered. That's exactly the vibe I was going for. Just silly goofiness. I love Challenger 2 asked what books have I written. So here's my book ones. They're all linked in my bio though if you want to go through them all. I've got about 11 books out now, I think. This is fantasy up top and lit RPG down below. Feel free to check them out. Or if you want to know more about any of them, please ask. Happy to talk about them. Meg H, I saw you come in and I didn't say hello. Good to see you, Meg. Hope your holidays were good, and I hope you got a good New Year's Eve celebration set up. But good to have you. Welcome back. Y'all, if I missed your question, please do ask it again. I want to answer them all. There's a lot going through. So sometimes they move too fast for me, or sometimes I take too long to answer. Lesbian Paint Drinker, you said, what if it's integral to the story to kill all of the characters? Okay, so you can do that, but you have to keep this in mind. Readers read books to feel good, for the most part. Some people like to read books that make them sad, but by and large, people read books, experience stories because they want to be entertained and they want to feel good. And often killing all of your characters or even killing beloved characters doesn't make people feel good. So if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that it's important and it makes sense in the story, because no one wants to read a whole book and then get to the end and all of the characters die and then you go, well, now I feel bad, and it also feels like nothing that happened in the story mattered because all the people I was cheering for died in the end. So killing characters can be done. It just needs to be done very carefully and for a reason. X before YZ, you said, who did the covers? They look awesome. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I have the cover artist is always credited in the opening page of my books. You flip past the cover and boom, it says cover artist right in there. But I can tell you, Wriggly Little Hands was done by Ivan Shavrin. The Far Wild was done by Victor Toth. Servant of Rage was a while ago, and I always forget the name. It's another Ivan. It's Ivan something. I'm blanking on his name. I need to pull it up. I don't think I have a copy on my bookshelf behind me. Back there, but I can't remember right now who it is. I need to pull that from my memory again. But there, if you go to like my books online and you do the preview, it'll show you the opening page that says who the cover author was, or the cover artist was. Zandman, welcome in, my guy. You said, hi, I want to become a writer. What's your best tip to become a writer? My best tip, I'll give you two. Write to entertain yourself first. Readers can tell if you had fun when you were writing. So write what you find fun. It'll also keep you writing more because you're having a good time with it. 2, write short stories. Don't start with full-length novels. They're hard. They take a long time. Write short stories instead, and then submit those short stories to online contests. There are tons of free short story contests, and in fact, any reputable contest will be free, never pay to enter them. And it's a great way to win acclaim, practice. Sometimes you get feedback from the judges that help you improve as a writer. So write what you love, write to have fun, and write short stories. Those are my 2 tips for you. Let's see, Book and Quill. That's a fun name. You said, what do you feel when people automatically assume you or someone is using AI when they use M-dashes? Annoyed because, especially me personally, I've been a huge fan of the M-dash for years. You can look at my books back to my first one. I always use M-dashes because M-dashes are useful for interjecting a thought. And I love, my writing style has naturally leaned towards having interrupted thoughts throughout the book, and M-dashes are how you do that. So it's annoying when people think your writing is AI because there's an M-dash, because the reason AI uses M-dashes is because authors use M-dashes. So AI is copying us, and then we're being accused of using AI because it's copying what we've already been doing. So it's annoying. That being said, I haven't been accused of AI too much, so I appreciate that. Apetro, you said, when I finish writing my first book, do you recommend self-publishing or go for a publisher? It depends on the experience you want, Apetro. If you do self-publishing, no one will tell you you can't do it, right? So boom, you self-publish it, book's out in the world. But also, very, very likely, no one's going to find the book because there's so many books to sort through. There's thousands of books being published a day. So if you're going to self-publish, no one's going to tell you can't, but you'll be on the hook for doing the marketing, the promotion, the ads, etc. to get that book in front of people. If you do traditional publishing, there's a lot more people that will say, no, we don't want this book. You got to get a literary agent, then you got to sell it to a publisher. You could fail at any step of that process. I have several times. But if you succeed at those steps, then the publisher is going to do a lot of the promotion for you. You'll still need to do some, but at the very least, you will have a leg up on self-publishing in that you have a publisher backing you and a publisher financially invested in your book doing well. So that's kind of the pros and cons there. Penguin Bread, you said cheese or no cheese? Probably cheese. I'm a cheese fan for sure. Paint Drinker, you said probably my last question. What if you don't know what audience would like your book? So that's a good question, and an important thing to consider is, what audience are you writing for? You should write to entertain yourself, but you should have in the back of your head, like, who wants this book? That will help you identify if the book is going to sell well, essentially. Now, if you're just writing for your own passion, you don't got to worry about the audience, man. If you just want to write because you love writing, go for it. And the book might find its audience. But if you're writing professionally, you're writing to make a living like I do, I have to think about what's popular right now. What are people reading? What do people want more of? And then I find the intersection of what I'm excited to write and what I think people want, and I find the intersection of them. And that's the next book that I write. For instance, I just pitched a publisher on what might be my next book, and I made it dark academia with a romance subplot because romance is big right now, and dark fantasy and dark academia has been really big. So that informed my decision making for that book. No username, you said Asmongold? Hey, we're getting the Asmongold counter up again, y'all. It's been a good day for it. I think we've gotten 5 today. 4. This will be number 5. Yeah, this will be number 5. Up goes the counter. Welcome in, dude. Good to see you. Marcos, good question. How can I find a good publisher? It's tough. It's tough. When it comes to traditional publishing, your literary agent will find the publisher for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But you have to find a good literary agent. If you're going for small press publishing, then you would do research on the publishers, read their website, get a feel for them. If you can, talk to authors who are published with them, and look at what books the publisher's publishing, and are they selling well. Pull their books up on websites at Barnes & Noble. See the reviews on them. And that's how you would kind of get a vibe for the publisher, you know? Ooh, Binda, interesting question. You said, what do you think about cryptic poems before big arcs to foreshadow and reveal lore before it is revealed in the story? I like it. I like it a lot. Now, I have written several books where I do a poem, a lore snippet, etc. at the beginning of a chapter, and I think it's a really fun thing to do. Specifically, like one of my books, let's see, I can pull it up. Nope, that's not the right screen. Rise to Glory right here was written in 2020, and it's set in the near future, so social media was a big part of that book. So at the beginning of each chapter, I had essentially a tweet from in the world of the story of somebody talking about the main character or the events of the book, and those tweets gave additional context for the story, as well as would kind of, tease things that were coming later. So it was fun. It's a fun way to tell more story in your story, more book per book. But it's hard, because if you do it every chapter you got to come up with another little snippet to put there. That being said, I think it's a really fun thing to do. So yeah, I'm a fan of it. Book and Quill, you said, what's your opinion on writers using AI to help with writing? Personally, I'm not a fan. Specifically because AI was trained on stolen books that it had no right to train on. I know for a fact that all of my books have been stolen and used to train AI. I didn't get a penny for that, so that doesn't feel good. Not that I would have, well, maybe I would have sold it. I don't know. I never considered, because I never had the option. They just stole it and used it to train AI. So I'm not a fan of it, but also I got into writing because I love the act of writing. I love storytelling, so I enjoy the process, right? I don't want AI to do it for me because I enjoy doing it. So that's my take on it. JR, you said, why do authors don't like talking with other authors? I've not heard that. In fact, I talk with other authors on the daily. Those that I know, we chat all the time. Bounce story ideas around, talk about publishing woes, how to sell more books, etc., etc. Yeah, I talk with authors all the time. Zanman said, how do you get ideas for titles? I had an idea for a medieval fantasy story, no title though. Okay, well, you can write the story without the title. You don't need the title to write it. That being said, I am really bad at titles. I often try to come up with a title when I've got the idea for the story. But as I write the story, I'm always trying to think of a better title. And often I will finish a book and even get it to an editor and still be working on what I think the title should be. I'm bad at it. I think that titles really... So let's look at it this way. Covers, when you put up book covers, the idea is they should catch the reader's eye and draw their interest. The next step of that is the title should also catch their interest. The title needs to tell a little bit about the book and draw the reader in. It's part of your cover package. You want a title that's interesting. For Wriggly Little Hands up here, this was one of my hardest books to title. And in fact, Wriggly Little Hands started as a fantasy version of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, if you're aware of that classic comedy movie. I basically wanted to write that story, but in a fantasy world. So originally, I had titled this book Horses, Wagons, and Dragons, as a nod to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but people weren't getting it when I sent it to my beta readers and whatnot, so I had to change it. And I changed it to Wriggly Little Hands because it's a silly book about goblins. It's a little bit gross, a lot of bit silly, and I felt that Wriggly Little Hands just felt appropriate, right? The goblins get their wriggly little hands into everything and mess it all up. So that's kind of how I did that. But I'm bad at titles. It's something I always struggle with. Noah, good to see you, buddy. You said, hey, it's me again. I watch your vids a lot, but I haven't read your books. Where can I buy one? They are all linked in my bio, Noah, but you can buy them basically anywhere you can buy books online. But it'll all be linked in my bio. Feel free to click through there and check them out. I appreciate that. Bobbity Booba. wait. Bo Bobbity Booba. There we go. Said, writing meaningful side characters that only appear for a couple of moments. How do you go about that? I think it's hard to make them meaningful if they're only there for a little while. What I do with side characters is I try to come up with one central aspect of their personality, because side characters, you don't have enough time to develop them fully. A main character might have several sides to them, several parts or aspects of their personality. For side characters, I focus on one aspect. So one of my most popular side characters was really good at their job, really lazy, right? So like every time they appeared, they were just being absolutely lazy to the point that it annoyed everybody around them. And the other characters would be like, can you please just do your job? And they'd be like, okay, fine. And they'd do the job better than anybody could do and then go back to being lazy. And that just, people loved that. It became goofy. It became a beloved side character. But I just try to come up with some little concept like that for each side character. The Story Lab on Video App said, do you self-publish and how much do you spend on editing? So I'm a hybrid author, Story Lab. I sometimes self-publish. I sometimes work with publishers. It just kind of depends. Realistically, what I do is I pitch books to publishers. If they're interested, they'll make an offer on buying the book. And if the offer is good enough, I'll sell it to them and work with them. If it's not, I'll self-publish. So that's kind of how I decide there. But for editing, if I'm paying for the editor, I tend to spend about $1,000 per book for copy editing. That's about the range that I'm in. Zaldrin, you said, how do I introduce an entire kingdom or continent and its history? I like this question because there's several ways you can do it. You could exposition dump it all up front. That's perhaps considered a bit sloppy. It might lose reader interest. There's different ways to do it, but my preferred way to do it is to sprinkle in facts and information as we go. That's how I enjoy reading. I enjoy stories that give me little bits of info as we progress, so it feels like you naturally learn about the world as you go. So you could do it that way. Or you could have a character who doesn't know a lot about the country or history, and thus other characters have to explain it to them. These are both valid ways, and it comes down to what you like best. Lengthy Blade said, I've had an idea for a Monsters Inc. type fantasy, but instead of power, fear is a drug. Interesting, Lengthy. That's cool, man. You gonna write it? That sounds pretty fun. Ethan, you said, is being an author a good job? I love it, but I love writing. Publishing's a tough industry. I don't know how much my income's going to be each year. I do my best to make it stable, but I've had years in the six figures. I've had years where I've made literally $10,000. It all evens out in the end, I guess, but publishing is a very tumultuous, difficult industry. So there's not a lot of stability in it, but if you love writing and you want to do it professionally, then you got to publish, right? So I put up with the publishing industry because I love writing so much. So is being an author a good job? If you love writing and storytelling, absolutely. If you're looking for stability and low stress, then probably not. Romina over on Video App, you said hello. Howdy. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me. AL_X said, I already have a complex power system written, but don't know how to write a story. What can you suggest? Alex, what I would do is think about what story you'd be most exciting to tell. If you were going to envision one really cool scene from your book, what is it? And then how can you write a story that builds up to that scene? Try to think about it that way. And keep in mind too, you have this complex power system that you've created. How do you want to show that off? Write a story that shows it off in a way that you're excited about. Just focus on entertaining yourself. I think that's the best way to do it. Boxy Dixie said, what do I name my cat? I don't know. Tell me a bit about him. We can pick out a name if you want. Thank you for the follows, by the way. I appreciate you. Nilla said, how many words in my books? My books have between 80 and 120,000 words. Now, if you're a reader, measuring things by words might not make sense to you. So what I'll say is my average book is around 100,000 words. And if you were to pick up a paperback off a shelf, a typical paperback of about 400 pages, that's about how long most of my books are. Though I've been leaning towards the shorter end lately. I've been writing shorter books because I prefer shorter stories. Alphonse, you said, I'm just miffed that superhero novels aren't popular, but movies are. Yeah, it's a bit of a minor genre, superhero books. But Alphonse, look into the lit RPG genre, LIT RPG. and progression fantasy. The superhero stories are a popular story within lit RPG. Let me actually grab one. What is it called? I can recommend one to you if you haven't read it. Yeah, so Mastermind: Titan Online is a book from my publisher that is a superhero story. So if you want to check it out, feel free. I enjoyed it. It's actually a super villain story, which I think is fun. I enjoyed it. Maybe you will. And again, look into the lit RPG genre. Superhero stories are decently popular there. AD Hyperdad, who's kind of like ADHD, said, "What is the most unhinged thing you've regretted Googling for a story?" Oh boy. I mean, generally it has to do with like bodies decomposing, I guess. Like if a body's been dead for so long, what would it smell like? Stuff like that. Though I had just recently finished co-writing this 5-book series with my buddy Luke Chemlenko, and insects, giant monstrous insects, were a big enemy in the book. So I spent way too long Googling things about insects, like, do insects bleed? What is insect blood like? So that was quite a journey that I wasn't ready to take on, and didn't intend to. Paint Drinker, you said, how would you recommend writing about controversial topics while being respectful to the victims? So this is a good question, especially because it applies for anything controversial, anything sensitive, anything that even just like maybe you're writing a culture that isn't your own, right? Anytime you're a bit nervous about it, I think as long as you educate yourself as best you can, make a genuine effort to understand the subject matter, and then write in a way that is respectful. Don't insult, don't mock, try to be open-minded and just write about the topic as you understand it. I think as long as you come from a good place, you're going to be fine. It's just really important to do some research ahead of time and write from an open-minded, respectful point of view. That's kind of the way to handle it. That being said, controversial topics, you could do everything right and still get in trouble for it. So just keep that in mind when you do it. Justin, you said, silly question. Is page count a literal page count, or is there a standard page format? That's actually got a complex answer, Justin. This is why authors measure things by word count, because a word is always a word. But a page, like you're hinting at here, changes based on format. An ebook page is a different length than a paperback page is a different length than a hardback page, right? So we measure things in words because words are always the same length. Or not length, but one word is always one word. Now, if you're talking about is there a standard page, there is something called standard manuscript format. That is the standard format in which to present your novel to an editor or to a publisher. And that is going to be 12-point font, double-spaced, Times New Roman, or Calibri font. You can Google standard manuscript format, and you'll find the actual standards there online. But yeah, so there is a standard format, but measuring things via word count avoids the confusion over, well, is that paperback pages? And are those paperbacks 5x8 sized, or are they 6x9 sized? You know, that changes it all. Good question. AD Hyperdad, just a heads up for the lit RPG genre, make sure you check the maturity rating first. Sure, yeah, just like with any book, could be various levels of mature. Eggy said, "Hey, hello. Any advice? I'm a starting author. How do I overcome writer's block?" Eggy, here's what I do for writer's block. It works for me frequently. A lot of viewers have said it's helped them. Start a timer for 5, maybe 10 minutes, and while that timer's running, you have to have hands on keyboard. You have to be writing in the world of your story. It doesn't have to be good, and in fact, don't even worry if it is good. Just write until that timer stops. What I find is, by the time that timer ends, I've kickstarted my brain. The creative centers are churning, the gears are moving, and I'm ready to write. That's how I overcome writer's block. I might throw out all those words that I wrote in that time, but I'm now ready to write. So don't worry if it's good, just 5 to 10 minutes, and you have to write nonstop in the story of your world, or the world of your story. Sorry if I missed your comments. There's a lot coming in, so I'm trying to make sure I get them. The Story Lab on Video App, you said, how long does it take you to finish a first draft? I would say 2.5 months. 2 months if I'm really cooking. Now, I have pushed myself in the past. I think the fastest I've written a book was, how many days was it? I wrote a book recently in like 12 days. It was horrible. They were 14 to 16 hour writing days, nonstop, 12 days in a row. It was miserable. Don't do that. That was an experiment. I wanted to see how fast I could go. I had a lot of time to do it in. It was miserable. I typically write a book in about 2 to 2.5 months. Stereo Thief, you said, hey Alex, how you doing today, man? I'm doing good, Stereo. Thanks for joining me, buddy. Hope you're having a good start to your week here. Hope you had a good holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And hope you got good plans for New Year's Eve coming up. It's good to have you here, man. Mashed Potatoes, what book did I write? I wrote all of these and several others, not pictured, but these are my book ones in my series, and they're all linked in my bio if you want to check them out. I'd appreciate it. I am a full-time author, so selling books, selling these bad boys is how I support myself. So if you'd like to help with that, please check out the books. Trident, what genre do I write? I write fantasy up here and lit RPG down here. Those are my two big genres. And then I saw another one. What was the book I had the most fun writing? Asked Papercut. Probably this one, but it was also the scariest because it was my 10th book, and I was very much like... Here, I'll pull the cover up, I guess, while I talk about it. This is my funniest, silliest book I've ever written. And when I've never written anything that was that goofy. And when I was writing it, I was like, is anybody going to find this funny? I'm laughing at the jokes, but like, are readers going to enjoy it? Are they going to think it's just too much jokes and not enough plot? I had tons of doubt when writing it. But I made myself laugh a lot. And it turns out readers thought it was funny. And it's been one of my best books to date. So I guess that was my scariest and my most fun to write. Grumden says, how do you gain confidence in your story? Sometimes it's tough to think it's worth the effort. I feel you, man. It often is. There's a lot of doubt, and the best thing you can do is just push aside that doubt and keep writing. As long as you're writing something that is entertaining yourself, I think it's worth it. And I've often found, like I just said with Wriggly Little Hands, with this book, I was writing something that was making me laugh, that I was having fun with. I was worried that people wouldn't like it, wouldn't enjoy it, but they did. And I think the secret to writing is to write things that you enjoy, because the readers can tell when you were having fun. Ryu, what are my thoughts on Royal Road? I love Royal Road. I think it's a wonderful website. I love that people are there writing stories, posting chapters every day. It's incredible. It's writing in its raw form. I think it's awesome. It's incredible looking at the writing process as well. You can watch an author make a story chapter by chapter, and you can even give them feedback that might affect the story. I think Royal Road rocks. I love it. Lestro, did I self-publish? I self-publish. I also work with publishers. And I've also been approached to write books by publishers. So I'm a hybrid. I kind of do it all. My main strategy is I will come up with a book idea that I want to write, and I will shop it to publishers I know and see if anybody wants to buy that idea and give me an advance for it to write it. And if not, but I'm really excited about it, then I'll write it and self-publish it. That's kind of my process. Mashed Potatoes, which of my books do you recommend for you to read? If you like silly books, go with Wriggly Little Hands. It's very goofy. I'm already working on the sequel. It's a very silly book. If you like intense, broody books with heavy action and big fight scenes, Servant of Rage is a great place to go. And I also have 2 more books coming in that trilogy. If you like Jurassic Park, thrillers type things, running from big hungry monsters, check out The Far Wild. That's my entry in that genre. Someone asked what the background is from. The background is the back cover copy of this book right here. So I'll turn my camera off so you can see. That is the back cover art for Wriggly Little Hands. Shout out to my cover artist, Ivan Shavrin, who did the art for that. Schmorschmallow, I love that name, said, hello, first time here and just stopped by. Any tips on introduction or opening to a story? Yes. Smorsh, the first line of your story should hook readers. It should be as interesting as you could possibly make it And it should make them ask a question in their head. Because if you write a first line that's interesting and makes the reader ask themselves a question, they're going to want to read more because they want the answer to that question, right? So your first line should be a hook. It's tough. I often will write a first line, not think it's not good enough, and I'll just continue writing the story, but I'll constantly come back and try to rewrite and make the first line better. Up to and including right before I send the book to an editor. I'm still thinking about that first line because it's so important. Basically, it should make the reader go, huh? What? Because then they're going to read more because they want the answer, right? So first lines are hard. They're really important. KC17, how do you AFDHZX when you're TSGCDHGZ? My answer to that can only be another string of letters, so FGTYUIOP, of course. The Mr. Mubark said hello. Hello, my man. Welcome in. Ryu, you said you're currently writing your first lit RPG, but you're so busy you barely have time. Disheartening. Hey, as long as you are enjoying the story, it doesn't matter how fast you write it. It just matters that you keep writing it. Keep having fun with it. It's hard, especially when you got a full-time job. It's hard to find time to write. I'm so lucky that I get to write full-time. So my job is writing. Makes it a bit easier. But I mean, I know for the majority of folks, even the majority of authors, that's not the reality. They have a full-time job and then they write in the evenings. It's hard to find that writing time. Paint Drinker, you said, sorry, I keep coming up with things. That's fine. Please, questions are welcome. You said, how would I make a map from an existing map in a unique way? I would make it from scratch personally. If y'all have been here on Fridays, then you know that on Fridays my stream is fantasy map making. We make maps like these live on stream. So I think that'd be a good stream to tune into to see how to make a map. We go through it literally stroke by stroke and make maps. I use Incarnate. I'll put it in chat for that. Incarnate.com. If I can type, there we go. But there are tons of great free map makers out there, and that's how I would make a map. That's how I make maps. Ooh, Grumden, you said, how do you keep voices distinct? I struggle with that. I think for each character, or for each major character, I think of an actor or another character that I know, and I model them with that character in mind. So for instance, I wrote a character called Auditor, Odditor, the Auditor, who was based off of Jeff Goldblum. So every time he talked, he would whenever he had a couple sentences, he would always trail off one halfway through. He would drop thoughts midway through. He would say things randomly that didn't make sense that kind of made everybody go, what are you talking about? And it was a really fun experiment. So I pick actors, characters, etc. that I like, and I use them as inspiration for my characters. That helps keep voices distinct as I write. Also, another way to help that is to say the lines that you're planning to have the character say them out loud before you write them. Because when we talk, the ways in which we talk are different than the ways in which we write. We talk in a more casual, lingo. We use contractions. We might not speak in full sentences. Keep all of that in mind. That helps make voices sound natural and distinct. Tall said, would you say it's more difficult to write a book with less, 1 to 3, or more characters, 4 to 10? More difficult to write with more characters. Definitely more difficult. I think you're specifically asking about point of view characters. I think 1 to 3 point of view characters is a sweet spot for me and what I like to read. Some authors like George R.R. Martin or Brandon Sanderson have tons of viewpoint characters. It really comes down to personal preference, but for me, I think 1 to 3 is more easy. Jack Ann, you answered about the trouble of finding time to write. You said you're a mom and a caretaker, so you wrote on your phone throughout the day and while everyone else sleeps. I respect it. I respect the grind, Jack Ann. She's right though. If you're busy, you just got to find those in-between moments to write. It's part of why I love Google Docs. All of my writing is stored in Google Drive, and I can pull it up on my phone at any time. So if I have a spare, 5 minutes while I'm sitting in the DMV line, pull out my phone. I can just write right there. Thank you for the follows, everybody. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. And hey, thanks for clicking my bio and checking out my books there. Like I said, selling books is how I make a living. So if any of these books look interesting, or you want to support me or the stream, please just click into my bio and check out my books. Hope you might find a good story in there. Bro Tristan said, do you experience not knowing what to write next in your story? Yeah, I definitely do, Tristan. But sometimes I lean into it. If I don't know what to write next, sometimes I just kind of let the story go where it will. And it's nice because instead of having the whole story plotted out where I always know what's going to happen, sometimes it's nice not to know and to let the story surprise you. You will be surprised what comes out if you just kind of go, I'm just going to write the next line and the next line and the next line with no plan. You can surprise yourself and come up with some cool ideas. Some of my best ideas actually come in the moment without me planning them ahead of time. Beyblader, you said, are my books comics? They're not, though I know that this one has kind of a comic book vibe to the cover. But no, they're chapter books. They're typical books, words on page. They just have very vibrant art because I like working with artists who do really poppy styles, Eggy, you said you're currently working on a Napoleonic zombie genre book. It's very long. That sounds fun. Napoleonic era, but zombies? That sounds cool. I'd read that. Mashed Potatoes, where can you get my books? Like I said, links in my bio, but I sell them on pretty much most major book buying websites. The one named after an Amazon river started by Jeff Bezos, because I can't say the name, TikTok will get mad. I sell them there. They're at barnesandnoble.com. They're on Audible, etc. So any of those places you can get them. You said, what do I think about the story? I have no mouth and I must scream. I think it's terrifying. It kind of lives rent-free in my head since I read it because it's a really good little horror short story. I think it's really good. It's really creepy. Paint Drinker, you said the problem I'm having is it's based on an existing place and the story features real places. Well, that's fine. You can have settings based on real places. They can even be set in the real world. It's really up to you. What I would say is don't feel limited. If your brain is telling you you can't do something, just do it anyway. Give it a try. You never know. So much of my best ideas have come from me going, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. And then you just try it and you go, ooh, actually I like that. I like that a lot. So don't tell yourself you can't do anything. Just give it a shot because you can always edit it and change it later, right? So try it how you want to, fearlessly, the first time. And if it doesn't work, cool, you can change it. But it might work more than you think. I have not read The Fairy Queen, Grey Ghost. Kiryu, you said, what is Nova Online? Here, I'll pull it up for you. Nova Online is my first trilogy. It is a lit RPG trilogy, and I can give you the pitch for it. I have it pulled up because someone asked earlier. It's a science fiction book, kind of like Ready Player One, if you're familiar with that, where characters go into video games. And here's the pitch for Warden. Wrongfully imprisoned, Kaiden can earn early release by working as a digital cop in the world's most popular online game. But he uses the role to prove his innocence and accidentally uncovers a vast conspiracy in the process. So basically, it's like a sci-fi book where the main character is in a dystopian future. He's put into prison for a crime he was framed for. And if he serves as a cop, as a moderator basically, in the world's most popular online game, he can earn early release. Or he could use those powers to investigate who framed him and prove his innocence and accidentally uncover a really big conspiracy in the process. It's a fun one, especially if you like lit RPG and books in which characters go into video games, gain levels, get stronger, stuff like that. Paint Drinker, yeah, pitch me the character. I'll tell you what I think about it. Ashton, you want to write a book, but how many chapters is a good amount? So Ashton, what I would say is don't worry about how long it is. Just write the story as it makes sense to you. That's the best way to start. That being said, if you're writing a novel, average length varies depending on genre, but you're safe if you're in the range of 60,000 to 100,000 words. That's a good range to be at. If it's going to be a fantasy book, those tend to run longer. I'd say 80 to 120,000 words. If it's just a normal fiction book, you're safe anywhere from 60 to 100,000. User Watches TikTok said, "Do you have any tips on how to make a story more exciting?" When you're at any given time, think about what's the craziest thing that could happen, and try that. Try that next. Sometimes it might not work out because it's too off-the-wall crazy, but I like to think if I'm having trouble deciding what happens next, I will brainstorm 3 to 5 things that could happen next and pick the craziest one. Often that's a great way to make a story more exciting. Luke, you said, what is your opinion about Warhammer 40k? It's a little too dark for my taste, but it has incredible world building. I love doing like a random deep dive into the world building of Warhammer because it's so off the wall and zany. It's a lot of fun. I think it's got a great aesthetic too. It's got vibes, right? Warhammer has presence and atmosphere. It's very cool. I like it. Ronnie, good to have you here. Welcome in. Ronnie, remember the good old days? Remember the good old days when I didn't know how to say it and I was calling you Roni, like pepperoni? I'm glad that I call you Ronnie now, correctly. And welcome in. Good to see you. Hope you had a good Christmas or happy Hanukkah if you celebrate. Good to have you, Ronnie. Hope you're doing good. Mosaic, you said, who is the artist for my background? So the background, this is actually, here, I'll let you see the full background. This is the back cover art for my book, Wriggly Little Hands. The artist is Ivan Shavrin. You'll see them credited on the first page of the book. And here's the front art. So like this art continues onto the back cover, and you get this tower here. It's the Dark Lord's Tower from the book. Fate, you said, what do I think is the hardest genre to write? That's going to be personal opinion. I think nonfiction is the hardest to write. Historical nonfiction, because you need to portray the historical period accurately. In order to do that, you need to research it and know a lot about it. And you don't realize how much you don't know about daily life in a historical period until you sit down to write it. And you have a character like get up and try to light a candle. And then you go, wait, did they use candles at this time period? Or did they have gas lamps? Did they have electricity? When was electricity invented? When were gas lamps invented? All these questions, and just small things like, oh, they're sitting down to have a meal. What kind of plates do they use? Do they use napkins? Do they use multiple types of utensils? Like, these are all random little questions you never think of until you're writing a scene in a historical period. So I try not to do historical nonfiction because that's just too much research. It's why I enjoy fantasy, because I get to go, it's that way because that's how it is in the world. I'm the author. I made the world. That's how it is. It's a lot easier, you know? Oh, no reason to apologize for the name Paint Drinker. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun name. Thank you for the follows, by the way, everybody. I enjoy you. Air Conditioner, what did I write? I wrote all of these as well as their sequels. And if you want to look at them more in depth, they're linked in my bio. Click into my link tree and you'll be able to find all the books and read about them. But if you have any questions about them specifically, please ask, and I'm happy to sell you on one of the books, I suppose. As I say, folks, I am a full-time author, so selling these books is how I make my living. So if you want to support me or support the stream, please go ahead and give one a try. Go pick it up. The ebooks are pretty cheap, $2.99, 99 cents for some of them. So give them a try. I'd appreciate it. What do I think about Avatar? The blue ones, asked Say. I think is how I say that. S-A-E. I think the first movie was good. I haven't seen the second or third movie just because, like, I don't know. I guess I just don't care about it that much. I think the first story was really good and kind of, I felt fulfilled. I didn't feel like it needed sequels. But James Cameron's got his vision and he's rocking with it. So, hey, if people enjoy it, keep making them. Have fun with it. I think he's very passionate about it, and that's cool to see. Random, you said, what are they about? I think Kiru, yes, you can give me your quick pitch for sure. Random Snap, you said, what are they about? I think you mean what are my books about? The real quick pitches. This is a comedy fantasy about goblins going on a road trip and messing up everything at every step of the process. This is a dark fantasy with a lot of combat, sinister magic, big fight scenes. This is a fantasy thriller. It's kind of like Jurassic Park, but in a fantasy world. And these are all my lit RPG books, which, if you know the lit RPG genre, then you kind of know you kind of know what they're about. It would take a minute to explain it all, but they're basically like books involving video games. We'll say that. Display Heads Media. Yes, I do work with publishers. Sometimes I self-publish. Sometimes I work with publishers. It just kind of depends on what's best for the book. And if the publishers are going to pay me a nice advance to work with them, then I do. Otherwise, I self-publish. But yeah, I'm truly a hybrid author. Painter, you said Wyatt, an X-Price Institute capture unit fused to his armor by the start. I must have missed something. I think I kind of see it in there. Can you simplify the pitch a little bit, Paint Drinker? Give me, like, names aren't too important. Try to give me, like, the pitch in, like, 2 sentences. And this is hard to do. This is very hard to do. But it's good to practice. Tyson, over on Video App. Good to see you, my man. Welcome in. Happy Monday to you. John, you said, I want my protagonist to end up so powerful he attacks the narrator. What do you think of that idea? I think it could be interesting. I think it would be hard to pull off. That's getting a little meta, a little fourth wall breaking. It can be done well, but it's a little bit more of an advanced technique, you could say. So I think if done well, it could be interesting, but it's going to be hard to do well. That being said, don't let that stop you. If you want to do that, go for it. I am by no means the judge of a good book idea. So don't let me stop you from doing anything, and don't let me push you into doing anything. Trust yourself and do what is cool to you. I got no idea of names asked, have you ever read hated a character that you wrote? Yeah, I think the main antagonist, the bad guy of Rise to Glory, annoyed me a lot. He was a very privileged, snooty, rich guy who was just talented enough to back it all up, and that was really frustrating. He was very snooty. I said in the book that his family is the kind of old money that watched the Pilgrims arrive in America and went, ugh, there goes the neighborhood. That was my description for how old money he is. He was very annoying to write, but I think he was a good villain. Smorshmallow, you said good night. It's very late where you are. Thanks for the stream. Hey, thanks for tuning in. It was a pleasure to have you, S'mores. I'll be back on Wednesday. So if you want to follow and catch me again Wednesday, I'd love to see you. Until then, hope you have a good rest of your week. Kiru, that's a better summarized pitch. I think that sounds great. That sounds fun. I'd say go for it. And I'm interested in how you're bringing the ghosts into the book. I like it. Jay Jengs, you said, how do you create a story so complex? Like Game of Thrones has so many dynamics. You don't create complex stories right off the bat. I think it takes a lot of practice to get there because it's a lot of like juggling to keep a story that complex going. I think the way you create a story that's complex is first you practice with less complex stories. So like write a story that's just one point of view character, one plot line. Then write a story that's two POV characters, 2 plot lines, and you can kind of build as you get better and better, and eventually you can get to George R. R. Martin's level where you're writing, 10 POV characters, 10 different plot lines all at once. But that's really hard. So start with one, and start with short stories. That's the best way to practice. Kazuki, you said my cover art is peak. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Shout out to my cover artists. I have the privilege of working with a lot of great cover artists. And they make great art. I really appreciate them, and it's just a privilege to work with them. And they're always credited on the first page of my book, so if you open past the cover, right there on the title page, it's going to have their name for each cover artist that I work with. Tyson, you said, how can I start writing a book? Do I need to learn story structure, character building? Tyson, those things are helpful, but I would say if you just want to start, you're starting from zero, don't worry about any of that. Read stories that you find fun, and then try to write a short story to entertain yourself. That's the best way to start. A short story is 2,000 to 10,000 words. It's easier than writing a full novel. A novel is like 100,000 words. Short stories are quicker, faster. You learn all the important parts of writing a novel, but in less words. It's a great way to practice. So I say just read books you like and then start writing short stories that entertain yourself. That's the best way to start writing. All the rest, character arcs, story progression, plot twists, all that you'll learn naturally through practicing writing and through reading books. So just focus on having fun. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. A random dude and everybody else who's following. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all. A Petro, should a new author go to a publisher or self-publish? Totally up to you. It's about what publishing experience do you want. To say it quickly, self-publishing is easier to do, but requires a lot more work on the marketing, promotion side of things to get people to find your book. Traditional publishing is harder to do because you need to convince a literary agent and then a publisher that your book will sell and that it's interesting. But once you've done that, it's easier to sell the book. So there's kind of, self-publishing, easy to get into, hard to sell. Traditional publishing, hard to get into, easier to sell. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man said, what novels do I like to read? I love to read Jurassic Park, thrillers like that. I love funny books like Terry Pratchett. I love his Discworld books. And then I love Joe Abercrombie's grimdark, kind of satirical, kind of funny, dark fantasy. Those are kind of my three top authors. Faith Icarus. I do like to read the same type of books that I write. In fact, I'm really enjoying writing comedy fantasy lately, and this is my most recent one, and I think I've found a home writing silly Terry Pratchett-esque books. I enjoy reading them, and that's my first attempt at writing them, and I really loved it. Someone else asked a good question. Where was it? Oh, Ghostly. Do I make a living? Yes, I make a decent living from this right now. I'm trying to make more. I would say I make a low office worker's salary, $40,000 to $50,000 a year. I've had years where I've made six figures. I've had years where I've made $10,000. So it varies. I'm trying to stabilize it and make more, but right now I'm able to write full time and make a living. So, am I going to be able to continue that in 2026? We'll see how the sales go. We'll see if I can sell some books to publishers and make some good advances. We're going to find out. Ghosts of Phoenix said, what about illustrations in novels? Can you have too many drawings? So this is an interesting question, Ghosts. From an art perspective, can you have too many drawings? Probably not. Now, they do interrupt the flow of the story, just physically having a picture interrupting the story. The main thing is, for digital books and physical books, your print cost is going to go up for having more pictures. For digital books, ebooks, having pictures in them ups the file size. And digital publishing sites like Kindle Direct Publishing, Amazon, they charge you a delivery fee based on the file size of your book. And pictures, one picture is massive compared to 10 chapters of words. So your file size will go up a lot for having more pictures, meaning you will make less royalties per sale. Because the publisher takes that fee out of your royalties. For physical books, more pictures just means more pages. More pages printed in the book means your printing costs are higher. So yes, you can't have too many pictures because it hurts your margins, essentially. Croissant from Croissant FR says, how do you publish books? Like, what editors do you have? I've been trying for a long time. Oh, and you said Quebec, so you're in Quebec. Oh, hello, my friend. Good question. I have editors that I've worked with in the past that I just, when I have a new book, I reach out and I'm like, hey, do you have a free editing slot? And then I, sign a contract and pay them to do the editing. For me specifically, I don't know why I can't say that word, I self-publish or I sell books to publishers if they're interested in the pitch and they think it would do well. So I kind of do back and forth. So yeah. I don't know if that fully answered the question. Feel free to ask a follow-up if I didn't quite answer it right. Oh, sorry, Tyson. I saw that you have asked questions on Video App. I can't say the name of the website. So let me answer those. You said, what's the best way to market your book? Oh, man, I wish I knew. I'm bad at marketing. I'm still trying to figure it out. The stream is a way that I market, but I think the best way to market is to not be too salesy, and to be in the communities where your readers are and be a meaningful, contributing voice in that community. I think that's the best way to do it. Or just take out ads. If you can get really good at running ads, then you don't have to do any of that stuff I just said, if you can run good ads. But that's a whole other thing you got to learn, and I don't know it too well. How long does it take to produce a short story and a full story? This will vary based on your writing speed, but a full novel is around 60 to 100,000 words. A short story is 2 to 10,000 words. I could write a short story in a week. I could write a novel in about 2 months. I'm faster than most authors. There are still many authors that are faster than me, but for my writing speed, a week for a short story, 2 to 2.5 months for a full book. Let's see. Nugget Balls, when I say video app, I'm saying it starts with a Y and ends with a tube, but if I say it on stream, TikTok gets mad at me. It's the website you go to watch videos. It's been around for many years. Crispy Jigglypuff. Has anyone ever told me that Asmongold looks like my long-lost twin? Yeah, in fact, I get that so often. We have an Asmongold counter. So thank you for contributing to it. It now goes up to 79 today. There we go. It's a good one, man. Good day. We started at 73, and we've got 6 references up to 79 on the counter. Thank you for contributing that. A random dude said, what is your favorite type of story from the 7 basic plots? Well, I'm not aware of the 7 basic plots, but my favorite type of story is a fast-paced page-turner. I like books that move quickly, have plot twists, and kind of keep you guessing throughout. Thrillers, mainly. And then I just try to pair that with, like, funny moments, funny characters. That's what I enjoy most. Kale, how do you write better dialogue in your book? If you're struggling with dialogue, speak it before you write it, because dialogue is a written attempt to capture verbal speaking, right? And we speak with interjections, like I just said, in the middle of my sentence. We break off thoughts. We interrupt thoughts. We use colloquialisms and slang and informal sentences. All of these things are how we speak. So when you're writing dialogue, sometimes it helps just speak what you want the character to say and then write down what you spoke, because you might say it differently when you speak it than when you write it. Green, another Asmongold reference. The count goes up to 80. I think when people put it in chat, TikTok then pushes it to people who like Asmongold, so we get more references. But there we go. The counter goes up again. Sakai Morgan, you said, what book genres do I write? I write these books here and their sequels, and mainly fantasy and lit RPG are the 2 genres that I write. So we got my fantasy books up top and my lit RPG down below, but they're all linked in my bio. If you want to check them out, just click into my bio, go to my link tree, and they're available wherever you buy books, and please check them out. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, how should I open or begin my novel? With a hook. So your opening sentence should hook the reader. It should be interesting. It should catch their attention right off the bat. And it should make them ask a question. Because if they ask a question, they're more inclined to stay because they want the answer to that question. So for instance, here, I'll pull up one of my opening lines that I think shows this well. Oh, I'm sorry, not typing in the right place. So I'll pull up the opening to Wriggly Little Hands and show you what I think is a good example of an opening, without singing my own praises too much. Here we go. We'll get the opening line. So this is the opening line of this book. And for some reason, it's continuing to mess up when I click on it. How interesting. All right, I'll pull it up. I was trying to pull it up on the site where it's for sale, but I'll just pull it up on my my own files on my computer. Just take an extra moment. Here we go. Wriggly Little Hands and chapter 1. Okay, come on, computer. We're moving slow here. There it is. Okay, sorry about that, folks. The opening of this story is, Goblins look like if cats, hairless cats, had thumbs and learned to walk on two legs. But while cats are allowed to commit as many crimes as they want on account of being cute and small, the same hasn't been true of goblins ever since they discovered arson. So my basic idea here, I can put that on screen even. Minimize that, and then we'll drag it over. There we go. There's the opening of the book. The reason that I chose this opening is it catches your attention with the goblins look like if cats, hairless cats, had thumbs and learned to walk on two legs. I feel like it's a funny, interesting description. But then it says goblins love to commit arson. And I feel like that's another hold up, wait, what? And it gives you a vibe for the characters, but also makes you kind of ask a little question, have a little bit of fun. So I think that's a good opening line. Or if we want to do another one, let's pull up this book. And we'll grab its opening line. So this is Servant of Rage. This is, let me grab the cover. This is my dark fantasy, this one right here. The opening lines to this one are, any great inferno can be traced back to a single moment, a precipitous second where lightning tastes dry grass. I think that's a very dramatic, heavy opening. And if we expand on it, the following sentences are, let's go here, you can see it. Pitching the plan in the pre-dawn dark, Sube had been holding just such a moment in mind, could envision that singular heartbeat where brilliant would meet bombastic, and all would know it was him who'd made it happen, would know it was Sube, son of Kimu Khan, who'd struck flint to steel. So that's just a dramatic intro, right? And it sets up the character. It shows that we have a character who's searching for glory. He's trying to do something dramatic that'll get him noticed. And it's a little bit ominous too, because it says any great inferno can be traced back to a single precipitous second. I'm trying to hint that hey, this guy's trying to do something big and important and dramatic, but any wildfire can be attributed back to one moment where lightning struck dry grass, right? You want to see the opening to the Thief of Honor novel, Ghosts of Phoenix? Yeah, we can do that, or novella. So here, I'll pull up the cover for you real quick. Thief of Honor, actually, this is a free prequel novella to Servant of Rage. So it happens before this story. And if you join my Discord or my newsletter, you get this novella for free, as well as another story of mine. But yeah, I can read you the introduction to Thief of Honor. Let me pull it up in my files. Thief of Honor, story, Thief of Honor, current manuscript. Here we go. All right. I'll put it on screen for you. Ooh, I like this one. This is a good opening, too, in my opinion. So the opening of Thief of Honor. The festival of hungry spirits was a time for feasting, paying homage, and, on account of everyone else being at the festival, breaking into the High Magistrate's palace. Now there was a thought, dangerous, dishonorable, thoroughly intriguing. And best of all, Yue Zhang knew it might just dig them out of their current, regrettable circumstances. An honorable person would have been in the town square, offering food and comfort to the spirits of the severed. An honorable person would have been showing his neighbors that the Yue family remained in good standing. An honorable person would have been able to do something while the family stele was carted off by up-jumped street thugs. Yue Zhang had long tried to be an honorable person. Perhaps it was time to try something different. If not for his sake, then at least for his sister's. So there you go. There's the opening lines of Thief of Honor as well. Thank you for requesting it. If any of those sound interesting to you, you can get them all wherever you buy books, or specifically, you can get 2 novellas for free if you want to try out my writing by joining my Discord, linked in my bio, or my newsletter, linked in my bio. Ghosts, you said I should, or no, who said that? That was Neighborhood Spider-Man said I should make a live just reading out my books. Hey, we could do that. We could probably do that as long as it's... I'd have to double check the rights on that to make sure that I don't have a publisher contract that says I can't, but I probably could do that. Could be fun. Thank you, Ghosts of Phoenix. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Faith Icarus, you said, what do you do to build a fan base, and how do you decide what to talk about on lives? I'm still trying to figure out how to build a fan base faith. I think the best thing you can do is just keep writing books and pushing them out, and talking about them. In terms of how I decide what I talk about on lives, I have a little bit of feedback from viewers about what they enjoy, what they want. But my format that I've boiled it down to is Mondays. I do question and answer like we're doing today. Wednesdays is a wild card. Wednesdays we don't know what we're doing. 2 Wednesdays ago, we did a breakdown of story structure. I kind of taught a little lesson about how to plot a book. Sometimes I take book suggestions from y'all and I read the opening lines on stream and we talk about why they're good opening lines. It's just a wild card. And then on Fridays, we do map making. I've chosen these because viewers interact with them. Viewers seem to get value from it, and I enjoy doing them. And I'm always looking for new ones. Millie, good to see you. How you doing? Welcome in, Millie. Hope you had a good holiday. Ghosts of Phoenix, you said you'd love to listen to an audiobook of my books. Is there a plan for that? All of my books, I'm really happy to say, are in audiobook. So if you search these titles on Audible, they are there. You can listen to the audiobooks right now. Peyton, good to see you, buddy. How you doing? Welcome in, my guy. Glad to have you in. Hope you've been well. What have you been up to, man? Kilu, how should I write about fantasy battles? Ooh, I love this question. So writing about fighting, you want to show the combat, but combat is not interesting by itself. You also need to have stakes, because combat is made interesting when we care about the characters and we know that the outcome has an important stake for the main character, or for the characters involved. So it's not just they had a sword fight and it was cool. It was they had a sword fight, and if so and so lost, they would be exiled forever and they'd be kicked out of the kingdom, right? That stake makes the fight more interesting. If you want to go even deeper, your fighting in your book can be a microcosm, an analogy for the larger plot. So combat should do multiple things. It should be cool, and there should be swords flashing around and magic spells going off, but there should also be stakes. We also need to know why it matters, and we need to care about the outcome. That makes it tense. That makes it dramatic. All right, a few more questions, and I should wrap up. I've been on for 2 hours, and I do need to get to, actually writing my books so I can sell them. But yeah, we'll take a few more questions, and then wrap it up. Thank you for being here, folks, and thank you for following. It's been a pleasure. Jared Parasmo said, "Hey Alex, if I'm using AI to help edit and professionalize the writing quality of my story, is that okay?" I personally don't care for AI, and I don't use it at any step of my process, but if it's working for you, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Personally, I don't like it though, but also because I don't use it, I don't know much about it, so maybe it's a good editing tool for you. I'm not certain. Grumden, what good qualities do you look for in protagonists? Ooh, I love this. Okay, y'all, this is a really important lesson in writing. Protagonists should have a flaw. They have to have something that they do wrong or that holds them back. Because in the course of the book, we as readers want to see them grow and get beyond that flaw. We want to see them become better. So you have to give characters a flaw that they can overcome. That's super satisfying for readers to see, and it's a bit of a hack of like, you need to have flawed characters that become better over the course of the story. There's stipulations. There are other, you could have characters that become worse over the story. You could have characters that their job is not to become better, but to make others around them better. Like, these are all types of characters. But the easy go-to is to have a character that has a flaw that they overcome over the course of the story. RP21, are my books in a specific order? Not really. So they're not all in the same series. This is just showing the first book in any of my given series. So if you start with any one of these, it will be a book 1, and then it'll be pretty clear which book comes next in the series. All their covers will look similar. I don't think I have the covers for sequels loaded into my stream. Let's see. No, I only have book 1s because I wouldn't like show art from a book 2. It wouldn't really make sense. But those are all my book 1s. Millie, you said who voiced the Dark Lord in the audiobook for Wriggly Little Hands? I believe that was come on. I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Hold on, let me grab. I have it right here. This is embarrassing that I'm forgetting it. They're a very big narrator. Jeff Hayes. There we go. Jeff Hayes did the voice of the Dark Lord for that book. You might know Jeff Hayes because he is the narrator for Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is a very successful, famous book series these days. And I was absolutely flattered that he would do a character in one of my books. RP21, what book do I recommend you starting with? That's up to you. What I'll say is, if you like dark fantasy with a lot of fighting and action, Servant of Rage. If you like comedy fantasy that's goofy and silly and fun, Wriggly Little Hands. And if you like thrillers that are like Jurassic Park, people running from big, scary, hungry monsters, go with The Far Wild. It's got expedition into the unknown jungle vibes to it. Let's see. Defenders Veil Fracture. You said, so I'm writing a series in Origins. Should Origins drop after book 1 or vice versa? I think it's up to you. I think whatever you think will attract readers the most should come first, because you have to get readers to buy into your series before you expand it, right? So start with whatever you think is best to attract readers into the series and get them hooked in. Ghosts of Phoenix. This is a good question. You said, should I listen to Servant of Rage first or Thief of Honor first? Thief of Honor. This one here, I'll pull it up. This one is a prequel to Servant of Rage. That being said, you can listen to them, you can read them in any order, because if you read Servant of Rage first, when you come back and read the prequel, it will give you additional information about the story that you didn't know that makes it more interesting. If you read the prequel first, then when you read Servant of Rage, you'll recognize a couple of the characters because you met them in the prequel. So I intentionally did it so that any order is correct. You can't really do it wrong. And the same is true for Wriggly Little Hands and its prequel, A Wriggly Little Assistant. And by the way, as I said earlier, this book right here, A Wriggly Little Assistant, and Thief of Honor, both of the prequels, they are available for free if you join my Discord or my newsletter, which are linked in my bio. So if you'd like to get an appetizer of my writing, a free sample, just do that and check them out. Guilty Mouse, have I ever accidentally titled a book after an already popular book or series? Yeah, I have, but it didn't make it as far as the publishing steps. I always Google my titles that I'm going to use ahead of time, and find out if there's any big, good-selling series with that title. The Comic Codex, you said, do I plan the story ahead of time, or do I just make it up as I go? I do something in between where I do a light outline, a brief outline of the book that gives me the main plot points, but allows me to pivot creatively in the moment, because that's where my best ideas often come from. That being said, with my current book that I'm writing, I'm trying out not having a plan for the first time. I'm just going through it. I'm trusting my instincts and going through it, making it up as I go. RP21, how old do you think your little brother should be to read my books? If you're talking about Wriggly Little Hands or The Far Wild, he could, any age is fine, really. 10 years old and up, probably. Servant of Rage is a little more adult. It's a little more graphic with fight scenes and stuff, so I would say 13 and up, probably. But on the whole, my books aren't. I try not to alienate readers by making them too intense. Sir Paint, hello, my friend, over on Video App. Good to see you. You said, will the sequel to Wriggly Little Hands be on Audible? It will. I'm happy to say I'm working with the same voiceover crew, the same narrator team as book 1. So the sequel to Wriggly Little Hands will get an audio edition with the same actors as the first one. I'm excited about it. Scuba, you said, what is the magic system like in Thief of Honor and Servant of Rage? So this one here, and this one. So the way the magic works in Servant of Rage and Thief of Honor, it is, I'm little light spoilers here. It's a Dragon Ball Z-esque magic system, like, you can conjure like an orb into your hand and throw it at people and it'll explode. You can use different power-ups that make you stronger and whatnot. But the way it works is several people were granted this magic. It awoke inside them and gave them extra powers. If you kill another magic user, you absorb all of their magic and get stronger immediately. That being said, the magic might have a goal of its own. The magic might be working towards its own end goal. And so it's kind of like Highlander in that regard, where whenever you kill someone else with the power, you get their power and you get stronger. But then everybody else that has the power wants to target you because they want everything you have. And it kind of boils into a nasty little dilemma, huh? And it goes from there. I think it's a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy it. Let's see, a lot of new comments here. The comic, what genre do I typically write? I typically write fantasy and lit RPG. Victor, you can pitch your book at me if you want. I can give you feedback for sure. Maybe you're going to check out Wriggly Little Hands? Well, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. It's very silly. Let me know what you think. Just looking at comments that I missed. Syl says, does the power system making sense really matter? It matters a little bit. It doesn't have to make sense down to the smallest detail. It just has to be logical enough that readers can go, okay, I'm on board for this. Because whenever we read a fantasy story, there's something called suspension of disbelief. You know that, like, realistically this couldn't happen. But if it's fun enough, you go, I don't really care though. I'm here for the ride. I think it's fun. So I think your power system should make sense up to a point. It should be logical on the surface. It might break down when you really deeply analyze it, but the purpose of it isn't to be a perfectly functioning system that adheres to every law of physics. The purpose is to entertain and to make enough sense on the surface that it's not distracting, that it couldn't actually happen. Okay, Victor, here's your book pitch. An RPG story starring toys in the mall. They're at war with the Arcadians, aka living video games. They have the power of wonder, aka imagination. Yeah, that sounds like a good starting point. I could see that being interesting. Reminds me of, like, what is that old 90s movie, Toy Soldiers, I think it was called. Feels like Toy Soldiers with Toy Story, kind of. But hey, that could work. I think it's a good starting place. The most important thing is, if you think it's entertaining, if it's fun for you to write, keep writing it. All right. I think, y'all, I need to call it there for the day. We're at 2 hours and 15 minutes into stream. Streaming is not my job. I just do it for fun, and I like to hang out with y'all. Writing books is my job, so I got to go do that. So thank you for joining me today, folks. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the follows. Thank you for the great questions. So if you want to see me again, I will be back Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. Central Time. Please give me a follow so you can get notified when I go live. And then I'll also be back on Friday, and we're going to make fantasy maps live on stream. I have so much fun with that one. It's going to be a great stream. Please join me for that. Indrit, I write these books. They are fantasy and lit RPG. They're all linked in my bio. If you want to check them out, please, by all means. Guilty Moose. I love Zach Oyama. You said in the words of the great Zach Oyama, it was cool hanging. Guilty, can I tell you that I met Zach Oyama once? I met him at a restaurant in Birmingham, Alabama. I was there with my family eating, and my father-in-law goes, isn't that comedian you like from that one show? And he was spot on. I was like, there's no way. And I turn around and I was like, oh my God, that might be Zach Oyama. I'm like, Aaron, is that Zach Oyama? And sure enough, him and his wife were 2 tables away from us having dinner. We were the only 2 parties in the whole restaurant. It was nuts. We did say hi to him briefly. I didn't know he was married at the time, so I didn't know if he was there with his wife or on a date. So we didn't want to, like, interrupt. So we were just like, we were like, Zach? And he's like, yeah. And we're like, oh my God, we love your work. You're amazing. We don't want to interrupt. Have a good evening. And ran away. It was insane. Anyway, we're huge Zach Oyama fans. And I still don't believe that we actually met him in person. Dill, you started reading Servant of Rage yesterday, and you're a big fan. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for telling me, too. That really makes me feel good. So much of writing is writing at my keyboard, sending the book off to the publisher, and then, like, just assuming people are out there reading it and enjoying it. I don't know. So it makes me so happy when you guys tell me that. So thank you, Dill. I hope you continue to enjoy it. And I'm starting writing book 2 probably at the end of January. So book 2 and 3 are coming soon, my man. Kirk, I'll answer this as the last question of the day because I do really need to run. But my books are here. They are fantasy and lit RPG, and you can find them linked in my bio if you want to check them out. But if I had to pick one to start with, I'd say start with Wriggly Little Hands. It's very funny, very silly. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. I will be back Wednesday morning at the same time, starting at 7 a.m. Central. I'd love to see you then. Like I said, if you want to read my books or just look at them, check the link in my bio, and you can find them all there. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, be excellent to each other, and I'll catch you on the next one, y'all. Peace out.